Good afternoon, Premier. My question is in regards to the second bill that you mentioned, the citizens-initiated referenda. Would your government entertain a referendum that is put forward by citizens in regards to secession?
Keean Bexte here in Edmonton for Rebel News. At a press conference that's just about to start, Jason Kenney is going to speak to government caucus and stakeholders regarding the barrage of news that has hit Alberta recently. Teck mine closing its doors, saying they're not going to operate in Alberta.
There is absolutely no doubt that this decision was taken in large part because of regulatory uncertainty and endless delays created by the national government, as well as the general atmosphere of lawlessness that we have seen take hold parts of our country and much of our economic infrastructure in the past 3 weeks.
At a courthouse just a few blocks away, the Alberta Court of Appeal in a 4-1 ruling said that the carbon tax is unconstitutional. It's huge news and a huge blow to Justin Trudeau, who was sort of coasting on different decisions made in Ontario and in Saskatchewan, I believe, that were contrary to this, which means that this will be going to the Supreme Court.
Within the last hour, by a majority decision of 4-1, the Alberta Court of Appeal ruled in favor of Alberta's challenge of the federal carbon tax, striking down the federal carbon tax. And so I say to the Prime Minister, but I really say to the urban green left zealots who have been trying to appropriate the cause of First Nations, that what in fact you are doing is slamming the door shut on their economic and social future. The government and the people of Alberta are determined to overcome that zealotry from the far left, to be partners in prosperity with our Indigenous people fully in the future. Just as we were on this project, we will continue to lead the way with a model of reconciliation through prosperity, and we plead with the federal government to join us in that. But Alberta will do its part. And so I am pleased to announce today that tomorrow, following the throne speech, I will table Bill number 1 of the next session of Alberta's legislature, the Critical Infrastructure Defence Act, which will create new stiff penalties for anyone who riots on or seeks to impair critical economic infrastructure, including railways in the province of Alberta. And further announce, as will be made clear in tomorrow's throne speech, that one of the first bills introduced in the session of Alberta's legislature that begins tomorrow will be a citizen initiative referendum law that will allow ordinary grassroots Albertans to put onto a province-wide referendum ballot what questions of provincial importance. If there are questions that people think that politicians or the legislature are not willing to address or to take on, the Citizens Initiative Law, which we will introduce in the days to come, will empower the people of Alberta to put on the ballot a vote on critical issues about our future, part of our broader agenda of democratic reform to empower ordinary Albertans.
Good afternoon, Premier. My question is in regards to the second bill that you mentioned, the citizens-initiated referenda. Would your government entertain a referendum that is put forward by citizens in regards to secession?
Well, the point is that it's not about the government entertaining ideas, it's about what Albertans want on the ballot. But as I said to the government caucus this morning, I will encourage a legislature committee to hold expansive hearings on that, on what would be the right thresholds to trigger a referendum. My view is you want thresholds that are sufficiently high that you prevent a frivolous abuse of the initiative process, but low enough that if a significant number of Albertans really believe something is a critical issue, they can get it on the ballot. Albertans would be free to put these issues. They would have to be obviously constitutional. I mean, it can't be a referendum to declare that the moon is made of blue cheese or something. It has to be there would be a process to ensure that that referendum questions are of a legal nature. But ultimately, this would be throwing the ball in the court of Albertans to raise issues of importance if they believe the legislature is not doing that.
Now, further to that, your government and you yourself are opposed to secession, I believe. How are you going to plan on persuading Trudeau as oil and gas projects are falling like flies? You've tried the carrot with your emissions cap, and I think Albertans thought that was a good olive branch, but you've tried the carrot. What is the stick?
Well, there are a number of points of prospective leverage enumerated in our Fair Deal package, on which we are currently consulting Albertans through the panel. And one of those is a prospective constitutional referendum to eliminate Section 36, the principle of equalization, from the Constitution Act. One of them is prospectively creating our own Alberta provincial pension plan, which we think would save taxpayers $3 billion a year, allow us to lower premiums. That would help to create jobs. It would also allow us to invest that money out of Alberta in a way that maximizes return for pension beneficiaries in much the same way that Quebec has done for 60 years. Another idea is to cancel the police services agreement with the RCMP for rural Alberta, and prospectively to create an Alberta provincial police force like in Ontario or Quebec. Those are some of the ideas. We will be acting in this upcoming session on one platform commitment, which is to create our own Alberta parole board by withdrawing from our agreement with the Canadian Parole Board with respect to provincial inmates. So I think there are 36 ideas. I think many of them constitute meaningful leverage with the federal government. I say to Albertans who want our government to play all of to use all of these leverage points right now, please understand that we need to be strategic about this. At the end of the day, I don't think most Albertans are interested in getting into an abstract debate about our cultural identity or some endless, wide-open constitutional debate. What they want is an economic future. They know that means pipelines, and one of those pipelines is the Trans Mountain expansion, the owner of which is the Government of Canada. So we need to use whatever leverage points we can to ensure the completion of that project and to ensure a future for our economy.
Well, this is big news here in Edmonton today. Jason Kenney announced 2 new bills, one a citizens-initiated referenda, and 2, he will be proposing Bill 1 in the legislature to his majority government, saying that anyone blockading critical infrastructure will face steep fines, which is action that we haven't seen in any other province here in light of Canada being held hostage by these radicals blockading rail lines. And I was really interested to hear Jason Kenney's answer to me, saying that, well, the door is going to be left open. And if Albertans decide that they want to secede from Canada, if all of these blows from the Trudeau government, cancelling of Teck mine and so many other oil and gas companies closing their door, unemployment rates skyrocketing here in Alberta, if they've decided it is finally too much, well, they'll have to gather their signatures and they can put that question on a ballot. Here in Edmonton, Alberta, for Rebel News, I'm Keean Bexte. Thanks for watching our coverage here in Edmonton. We've been doing a lot of coverage on the oil and gas industry recently, mostly on pipelines and the pipeline blockades that have been created by fake First Nations up in northern BC. Go to fakefirstnation.com to see more of our coverage there and help us out continue on with that coverage.